Alrighty, for this edition of the Astro Observers, so basically what we're going to do is just a spring, I guess, planning session of what we might be observing or what to go for, and some of our favorite objects or whatever. Some real challenges. I have some more challenges with this one here, but some interesting things to go for. And first, we're going to go to red screen, and I'm going to go into the Virgo cluster, and we're going to bring it in a little bit. And as you can see here, we're towards the center of the Virgo cluster, and there's M87 or Virgo A. And you can see a lot of those galaxies that are surrounding this area of the Virgo cluster. And it all kind of surrounds Virgo A or M87. And you have so many galaxies around here. Of course, you have M86, M84 here, Macarian's chain that leads up to M88, M91's here, so on. But what's interesting, though, too, if I scroll down to this chart from Uranometria, and you can see here is M49, the other massive elliptical galaxy in the Virgo cluster. And you can kind of get the same effect there, where you have kind of galaxies all around it also. So you have like a break here where you don't see as many galaxies. And then you come up here, here's Virgo A or M87, and here's M49. You can see galaxies all around it. So there's a good, like if you want to do a Virgo tour, which I want to do, I haven't done a really good Virgo tour for a number of years. So I'm planning on doing that for this spring. And these are two great areas to start with. So, okay. And this is the scope I would like to do it with. This is, of course, my Orion Optics UK 12-inch f4. I think it'd be a perfect way to do a Virgo tour. There's enough aperture to bring in a lot of galaxies. Plus, you can just sit down on a chair and observe through it. So this is my plan, is to do a really good Virgo tour using this scope. And here's a wide field image of the M87 area, and you can see so many galaxies. A lot of them aren't plotted on here that are they're small like that, but they're there to see through a telescope. And of course, you have over here where M84, M86 are, and you go up Macarian's chain all the way up to M88 and M91, which we have a close-up view here. And here's M88, M91, and this 4571. M88, is a really underappreciated spiral galaxy. We always talk about just Macarian's chain. Well, it leads up to M88. Well, look at M88, because M88 is a great galaxy because it's seen in small telescopes. M91, it's not an overly bright for a Messier galaxy, barred spiral, but it's it's a good pairing. They can, in a wide field eyepiece, you can easily see both galaxies. Then you have this other more distant spiral, smaller spiral, NGC 4571. So it's just a really nice area here. And then you go into M49's area, and you kind of get that also, not as many bright galaxies as the M87 area, but there's still some really nice galaxies around here. And there's a lot of course, the NGC galaxies. Beautiful spiral over here is NGC 4535. But one of the things that interests me, if you go up to the northwest here, in this area right here, and I have a blow-up area of it, and you can see there's two face-on galaxies, NGC 4411 A and B. One's, I believe, an SC spiral. The other one's a barred spiral. And then you have up here above it, there's an interacting pair, which is NGC 4410. And then there's a couple other galaxies. Well, this is an very interesting area right here. And if you have there's a close-up view of it. taken from the Canada, France, and Hawaiian telescope. And you can see that there's a lot of things that are going on here. This is 4410 A and B, and here's IC 790 and a PGC galaxy. It's a barred spiral, but boy, look at all this stuff that's going on here.
That's amazing.
That's an amazing part.
That one galaxy almost in a way has like a similar appearance to Thor's helmet. I mean, obviously different, but there's some
it does.
there.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And that's where did you say that one was, Carl?
That's back up here. Here's M49, and this is that area right up here. And I blew it up right here. So this is that area. So it's northwest of M49. So here it is. And I think for a lot of the mid-size or larger, still say like the 12-inch and larger, I think 4410 will make a nice, interesting, interacting pair. I don't know if he'll put, but you can see right here is not really anything you're seeing in that close-up image, but be interesting to see if you can see the other galaxies in that field.
And these are not listed as ARPs.
It's a good question. I'm starting off the top of my head. That's a good question.
You know what? I'll check on. I'll check in Interstellarium because
here it is. Here it is. There's NGC 4410, so you can check that out if you want. But this is, like I said, this is and if from M49, if you go even like southwest of here, there is an amazing amount of galaxies there. In fact, there was that one supernova, I guess it was last year or something like that, where it had that group of like 5 or 6 galaxies. So 4371, something like that. Let's see if I can back up to the chart. I have to blow it up here. Let's see.
410.
What the heck of a number was that?
They don't have any indication in the Interstellarium that it's an ARP, so I'm guessing that it's not.
Yeah.
4410 and 4410-1 and 4410-2.
Yeah. So, but like I said, it's really an interesting area of the sky, and of course, like I said, you need to do in a Virgo cluster. Most people start off with M87 and go around this area. Like I said, if you go south of there, M49 has some interesting galaxies also, and M49 itself, I mean, that's visible even in a small telescope. So the other part of the Virgo cluster, which is really one of my favorite views, of course, is the butterfly galaxies, and one of the great interacting pair of the sky, and NGC 4564. Well, so this is one of the views that I'm anxious to look the view through the 12-inch. The other one, and I guess Rob and I will be talking more about this next month when we talk more about our observations and so on. But this kind of caught my eye, just going through sky surveys and just punching in some numbers. And this came up in Hydra, and it's NGC 3145. And it kind of reminds you, if you look at it, saying, hey, wow, it looks like Merock's ghost, that kind of where you have a bright star and then there's a galaxy nearby. And now both the star itself is not Lambda Hydrae, is not as bright as Merock, and this galaxy is not as bright as NGC 404. So it's a dimmer version of Merock's ghost. And I believe it's like an arc second or an arc minute farther away than what NGC 404 is. But it's still, I think it'll give you that kind of view. And I think it's for larger telescopes. And it's about 12 degrees south, so it's not up very high for here in our neck of the woods. But if you have a good southern sky and a good night, should be an interesting view. And the star itself has some color to it, like you see in the color photograph here. Yeah, I believe it's a red giant star. And of course, here's the 22, and I have some interesting things I want to go for with the 22. And this is the PGC 38400 group, and Coma, and they range from blank around 15, maybe 15 and a half magnitude to 16th magnitude, somewhere around there. So I've not seen these before, so it looks like an interesting field to go for. And I have it down as this would be the view through the 22 with a 4mm 82-degree eyepiece. So it's over 600 power. So that would be my field with a 626 power at an 82-degree field eyepiece. So it's something I really want to go for the 22. And the other one is the NGC 4098 group. This is with this would be with the 22 with a 5mm 110-degree field eyepiece, which is over 500 power, and they're all NGC galaxies, and they range from like close to 14th magnitude to 14 and a half magnitude or so. So I definitely want to go for this on a good night at one of the good dark sites. And this one is a Hickson that I've already seen, and I do have a near view image because I did a galaxy log for it. And this is one of the coolest of the Hicksons. You see this row of galaxies, and they range from 15 to 17.4. And the faintest one, of course, the 17.4 is the second from the top here. And they're out there. They're 700 million light years away. And this was my near view image with a 6mm Delos eyepiece at 417 power. And I was able to see 4 of the 5. And I'm wondering, this was actually from Hawk Mountain. So I'm wondering if I can get the faintest one from a darker site. So that'll be my challenge, to get all of them from a darker site. But Rob, I think that was the same night you and I set up. You had the 20-inch, and I think we were both observing this. Do you remember that at all?
I do.
In Draco, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was like there's a nice edge on Galaxy. I think it's like 37, 35. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. That it kind of points to Hickson 55. So, but it is really neat. It is one of the neat Hicksons to go for, and for scopes that I would think that are 16-inch or larger, under good skies, really good skies, you should be able to pick up a few of the members.
I saw either this one or one very similar to it, but I really think it was this one.
Yeah, this is in this is in Draco.
From Cherry Springs.
Yeah, this is in Draco. Yeah.
And I remember it was 5 and a little, not a line. It had that slight S curve to it.
Right.
And there was one in there that was pretty tricky and had to pump power up on it.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's unique. It's like a little chain of beads.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that's what caught me. It was funny because it was like, we all have these our books and of course the internet and like that to look up some interesting things to go for, and of course the Hicksons are always fun to go for like that. And when I first saw an image of Hickson 55 years ago, and I'm going, oh, okay, got to go for that like that. And I just kept forgetting to go for it, and finally we had a good night and had the 22, and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm going to go for that. Of course, go for I think it's 3735, I believe. I don't remember off the top of my head, I guess, but I think it's that. It's an elongated galaxy that kind of points to it. Yeah, this is a really cool Hickson group to go for. And then a challenge for the 22 in my eyes, and this is going to be a challenge for all of us, especially scopes that are 20-inch or larger. And you can see here, it's not the owl, it's not the challenge. Right? Okay. The owl is not the challenge. The owl is not the challenge. The owl can be seen in my 4-inch refractor. But if we go to the south, I guess it's southeast here, and you can see this area right here. And what it is, it's Hickson 50,
The dimmest.
which is the toughest of them all. And here it is. Here's Hickson 50. But there's also this interacting pair right here, and this star here is around 13 and a half magnitude or something like that, 13.2, 13 and a half. But it's actually an interacting pair right here. It's called the Leda 2485269. And you can see they're brighter than the galaxies in Hickson 50. In Hickson 50, the brightest go from like 17 and a half magnitude down to 18 something. But you're looking at over 2 billion light years away. And I think I have, yeah, a closer view of it. There you go. And there they are. I know some of the scopes that like 25-inch, 30-inch have gone for this and have picked up a couple of the members. So I think it'll be a real challenge, Rob, for your 20 and my 22 to see if we can get something out of these. The key is going to be high magnification. I mean high. I'm thinking, you know, probably it's over 500, over 500. But I think also to try to go for the this interacting pair right here, because they are brighter. And it looks like it's fairly easy to pick up. I'll get back to the, here's the owl. So get the owl, and you can see it looks like a little bit of a square here of fairly bright stars. And then it's almost like a Hercules pattern a little bit. And then you have this like I said, this 13 or so magnitude star. And that'll be the key to find them. And see if you can see anything right above it. And that's that pair right here. And then of course the Hickson 50s right here. So the Owl Nebula, the owl will see her way through to finding, see if you can see Hickson 50.
I've tried for this one multiple times, and I may have picked up some of the members. It's not been logged as a complete observation. So I'm not even, I can't say with 100% certainty yet that I've actually seen any of them. I've gone for it
Okay.
multiple times,
Right.
but it's been a while since I made a run on it.
Right.
And yeah, I'm actually really glad you brought this one up.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Get under some really good skies.
yeah, because I have been thinking about that we keep talking about ourselves going to West Virginia sometime to just do spring galaxies. And I think I wonder if Spruce Knob is the place to maybe get this thing with some of our scopes. So
yeah,
it might be. You get a really good, spectacular night up there. It may be because it may require, you know, near 7th magnitude skies to, you know, to see. But hey, you know what? You know, these things are out there to challenge yourself and challenge your scope, and that's why I look at it. It's a challenge. But like I said, it'd be interesting to see if we can pick up the interacting pair here, which obviously brighter. I'm only guessing maybe. Well, if these are 17, some of the brighter ones, 17 and a half magnitude, I'm guessing these are probably like 16 and a half, somewhere around there, with a higher surface brightness. So it may look like through the telescope, even at high power, they may look like a dim blur together. I don't know if you can be able to separate the nuclei at all. They may look like two dim stars next to this. So I'm interested to see how it would go. You know, just going for it. And if I don't see it, well, that's just the way it is. So we'll just have to get bigger telescopes. That's all.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, right? So, and that's it for me. So, there's some, you know, some interesting things that are out there, and well, I tell you, it's tough. When we create it, it's like when I always create these programs, like we do when we have our when we did have our regular club meetings, and I would do the spring galaxies and stuff like that, and trying to decide, you know, what to go for, what to look for, like that. I mean, it's just incredible. You know, there's so much to see. There's so much to go for. And I just thought, okay, well, these things look interesting. And Like I said, I haven't done a Virgo tour for a number of years, a serious Virgo tour. So I'm kind of anxious to do that and see what I can pick up. So, Rob, you have something?
Not a lot, but I'll just share with you what I have. I didn't really prepare anything,
That's fine.
Formally, but it's funny you should mention a Virgo tour because I haven't done one in my telescope officially either. And to be honest with you, I used to get like a little bit overwhelmed trying to go into Virgo. It almost got to where it was like my head was spinning. So a lot of times, I would just end up really just appreciating the objects I was seeing without necessarily identifying them all or cataloging them all.
Okay.
But what I've been looking through 2 books lately, getting ready for the spring galaxies. And one is this book that I've had for ages, and then I just kind of put it aside. And then I decided to pick it up a few weeks ago. So it's I'm sure you're familiar with this, Karl. It's the Keppel book.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And I think it's an underrated catalog of objects.
Yep.
I think it was pretty popular when it came out.
Yeah.
But it was like right on the cusp, or maybe it was like the pre-digital age. So then a lot of people jumped to digital catalogs, or just, or if they had Uranometria. But I think this is kind of underrated, or maybe underused, at least on my part. So what I was looking at in here, and then I was also matching it up to my favorite catalog of deep space objects, is this the Vickers CCD.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was looking at is, there's a lot of groupings of galaxies in Virgo that are I think maybe like underappreciated if you just look at them as a group of like 5 or 6 galaxies in one field, and not 30 galaxies in one field. So I haven't picked them all out yet, but I've got a handful in here that I want to look for, just for the aesthetic side of it. But I've also looking through Vickers in Coniston Odyssey, and I think that I'm probably going to plot out something for there also. I haven't done it yet, but I think that's another constellation that sometimes you can get overwhelmed in, because there's just so many galaxies up there. So I think it's going to be, for me, I'm going to be working off of like 2 different types of strategies, and it's going to depend on the sky conditions.
Right.
So if the sky conditions are average, so, then probably a Virgo tour, and then probably picking up some of these groupings in here in Virgo that I really want to kind of isolate, like these groups of like 5, 6, 7 galaxies. And, some of the, maybe some of the brighter galaxies. And I was also looking at a few ARP galaxies that I want to try to track down, depending on how the sky conditions are. If the sky conditions are as good or better than what we had the other night when we were out, then I guess I'll switch gears and try to go deeper. But I don't have anything specifically mapped out yet. I did want to try to do a triple quasar night if possible, because I know you can get the one in Ursa Major, the one in Draco, and the one in Virgo, and they should all be visible at the same time. I don't know. Have you ever pulled a quasar hat trick?
No, never done that.
No, not a hat trick.
Well, I think this is a good time to do it. So I think I'm going to give that a go just for the fun of it. But
Now, I would caution you, Rob. You're probably going to be exhausted by the time you're done with that, because if you add up your combined miles traveled,
I get good
That'd
gas
be
mileage in that little telescope, Josh.
it's going to be a lot of light years there, buddy.
But anyway, I just thought that would be fun. But yeah, I have to put a little more time into it. But generally, I want to go in Virgo and I want to go in Comet's Venodicy, and depending on how long a night it is, how the conditions are, some of those southern declination objects that I want to look at from Astronomy Now magazine. So those are kind of like my 3 go-to sources right now. I've been using Astronomy Now magazine, and they have a really nice challenge section. The only problem with the Astronomy Now magazine challenge section, I shouldn't say it's a problem, and I know you guys will both appreciate this. It's just that we obviously carry more aperture than the average club. I think that's fair to say. So a lot of what they call challenges, they're not pushing 16th magnitude objects. They're usually in the 14 magnitude range or so. So I think I can push my telescope deeper than what I would get out of their challenge objects. But they really do have good challenge objects that are at least, they're decent enough challenge that you can appreciate what you see when you track them down, but they're not to the limit of my telescope. So I'll have to find something to push it deeper. But that's basically what I'd be looking at, and it just depends on what the sky conditions are. And I'm sorry, time didn't allow me to really prepare much more than that, but I'm just psyched. It was so much fun being out the other night, and I can't wait to do it again.
I had you're talking about challenges not being a challenge. I had a similar experience. I don't have the article in front of me. It was out of Astronomy Magazine or Sky and Telescope, and I can't remember which one. But it was one of their, going deep or observing deep sky articles. And they were talking about these galaxies. And of course, as I'm working through this field, I'm just like, well, what about all these other galaxies? And then it's like that I begin to realize, like, well, no, that's really not what typical people will see. But yeah, I would like to start a scrapbook of challenge objects or objects that really can't be seen as per these articles.
Right.
I think it's probably about twice a year I'll read an article saying where, the Ring Nebula is beautiful, but don't expect to see the central star. And I'm like,
yeah,
I really can't observe without seeing the central star.
But and I'm not trying to be snobbish about it. I think that sometimes we take for granted, like,
Yes.
like if somebody is observing with a 12 or a 16-inch telescope, that's obviously a pretty decent piece of aperture, right?
Absolutely.
So then these like 15, 16 magnitude galaxies from northern latitudes, which is where this author is writing from, that is going to be a challenge. It's definitely going to be a challenge. So sometimes you have to kind of take it with a grain of sand. You have to know, like, well, who's writing the article and where is he writing it from? Well, he's writing it from England.
Yep.
Conditions are not really ideal there to begin with. And, when he's talking about these southern declination galaxies, I'm sure they're thinking like, hey, if you can track this down, that's a damn good find for an amateur backyard astronomer. So, but I would like to find something that would push the limits of my telescope a little deeper.
Yep.
Which I guess I don't have to go any further than just asking you or Karl.
Yeah. But I think that's one of the things that's enjoyable about galaxies. I think that's why they have a certain appeal, because there's so many of them and they're so sequential in their numeration of magnitudes that anybody with a scope of a certain aperture from a certain location can really begin to dial in what's pushing the limit of his or her scope. And it's always like a little bit of a rush when you go past that normal limit that you're used to. And it's like this never ending chase to go deeper. And that applies whether it's a 25 or a 12. It's like,
Oh yeah.
and that is the one thing about, you know, this club that I've enjoyed through the years. Yeah, with comments like, oh, you know, they write these articles and we're just like, that's easy. That's how it is for me now, but it was not like
Right.
that for me when I started with Chesmont. And when you find a club with big scopes and seasoned astronomers, it pays you to stick around, even if you're not going to climb the aperture ladder to the top, because hanging around with the guys in this club, when I had my 8-inch, I learned to push it to its max. So when I got to 16, I appreciated what the 16 could do, and then I learned to push it to its max.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I got to 25, it's just always a thrill when you knock out that next challenge, you know.
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's fun to live in the world of, oh, that was easy. But even saying like the stuff in the Sky and Telescope article is easy, there's still Hickson 50 that, you know, kicks our butt for years, and then that night you peg it down, that's all you talk about for the next
Right.
Well, that's what I
years,
was just
you know?
going to say is, and one of the things that I like to do, which is a challenge for me, is I like to go to these galaxy groups either, and I'll have to see what's around this time of the year. I mean, I'm sure there's thousands of them, but like the Alvin Huey Galaxy Trios, or the Hicksons, and the Hicksons is really a good, almost a better, because there's more than 3 galaxies. But what I like about those is that there's usually, especially like in the Galaxy Trios, most of the time, you know, I can get all 3 of them. Some of them are bright. Some of them you can get 2 out of 3, and that's the challenge is, you know, where's the third one? It's a galaxy trio. There's a reason he calls it a trio.
Yep.
There's 3 of them in there, and you know, you go in there and you see 2, and now it's like, okay, why am I not seeing the third? Is it too faint for the limits of my telescope? Are the sky conditions not as good as they should be? Or is my eyesight just not as good as I would like to be at the age that I am? And sometimes it's a combination of all 3 of those, or, you know, it might be sky conditions. And what I found out is some nights I'll go back and I will see the third galaxy on another observing session in the same dark window that I didn't see the first time. So I have to assume that's sky conditions and not, you know, not anything else. But when you go into those Hickson
maybe even your dark adaptation,
right?
you know,
Yeah.
maybe you had gotten hit with some headlights somewhere, or
Yeah.
used a red light that was a little too bright, or your eyes weren't as sharp.
Yeah. And that's funny you should say that too, because I'm kind of beating myself up here a little bit from my last observing session, and it's taken me, you know, how many years to figure this out. But just start realizing that. I mean, I know, Josh, you and I had talked about this, about patching up your good eye, right?
Your observing eye.
Your observing eye, right? So you patch up your observing eye. But what I find out is I patch up my observing eye, but my non-dominant eye isn't strong enough to reach the star charts. I can't. Basically, I'm blind when I put the patch over my dominant eye. I can't see a thing. So then, you know, I'm looking on, say, Sky Safari using the iPad or my iPhone, and I'm finding that I think I'm really killing my dark adaptation, and I have to develop a better strategy for this, because when I was trying to push the telescope the last time I was out, I realized that I had to stop for 10 minutes and move on to something else and wait, because I literally had just killed my chance to go as deep as I could because of how bright my charts were when I was looking at them. So
Now, can you, if you're running on your computer or pad, can you I mean, you can make that infinitely bright and big. So why not just patch your observing eye and just make that as big and as bright as you need to read with your
That's
non-observing eye?
I usually do, but sometimes what happens with those things is it's like if you're trying to pull in, say, a group of galaxies and you start zooming in, they start bottoming out pretty quickly, where you can't get the full view that you want to see. You know, you can zoom into like
Yeah.
one of the four galaxies, but if you want to get them all in the field that's kind of similar to your eyepiece, it's hard for me to see that. So I think that I need to
I'll say that is where Sky Tools 3 is far superior to Sky Safari. Unfortunately, Sky Tools 3 won't run on a iOS platform, so I don't run it. I do have an old PC literally just for Sky Tools 3 because you can lock in a view of your eyepiece. So you can just have the whole screen display and you get that circle that represents your eyepiece and everything that's in it. And it doesn't matter if you zoom in or out, it shows you what's in the eyepiece, which might be something easier for you. Huge believer in patching your observing eye.
Yeah.
Whenever the idea that red light does not knock out your night vision is completely false. Any light knocks down your night vision, period. You can prove it with a blink test every time. And I just picked up a new, I call them a helmet light, you know, the light that you can strap on your head. And it had a green light. And I thought, you know, I'm going to set the scope up using the green light and, you know, just give that a whirl. And I could tell using it for 5 minutes that I was not getting dark adapted. And when I turned the green light out, the sky was purple. So it was definitely playing with my color vision perception. I mean, it was like the reddest, purplest, like it freaked me out. I was like, holy mackerel.
I think they're saying now like a candlelight color, like really more like an amber color is actually better. And you can set I can set my iPhone to that color to use it as a light. But anyway, not to beat it to death, but no, I was patching up my dominant eye a lot, and it's real obvious when you go to the eyepiece and you switch the patch around, and it's like, whoa. And it wasn't white light that was doing that to your non-dominant eye. It was red light. So I that's something I want to get better at, and I want to start with this dark window, because I just felt the other night that I was limiting myself at times when I really wanted to get into and look at faint objects, that I had to go away from my red light even for 10 or 15 minutes and then come back to the object. So
if you want to,
we kind of got off the track a little bit, Carl. Sorry, but
no. This is what we should talk about.
If you want to find out, so there's always the blink test, right? Where you just patch up one eye, read your star chart like you normally would, walk out next to your scope and just look at the surrounding landscape and blink your eyes back and forth. You'll immediately notice one that's patched up. You're seeing the trees, you're seeing the vehicles in the parking lot where you're observing, you're seeing your telescope better. You look up, the sky actually looks brighter in your patched eye because you're seeing all of the light pollution in it. There's a contrast effect in the eye that's lost some of its night vision that actually makes the sky look darker, but you don't see as many stars. But really, if you really want to see the effect of it, like if I'm doing a intense, because you know me, Josh's obscure universe, right? So I will throw that patch on my observing eye, keep it there for over 5 minutes, read star charts, make log notes, whatever. And then I complement the eye patch with the observing vest, with the full hood. And I will go to the telescope, center the field of view where I know the object is if I can't see the object, using my left eye, the one that's been unpatched. I will then put my hood up, completely surround that around the eyepiece, and then I will go up and I will switch that eye patch to my non-observing eye. So no light has hit my eye except for what's coming directly out of the eyepiece for over 5 minutes. And boy, that eyepiece lights up like a Christmas tree. It's
Oh,
amazing how much a
that's
red LED light, and even the surrounding light from the area you're observing in will knock out your night vision. Because then once I drop that hood, look around a little bit, go back under, won't be there.
yeah.
So it's, I mean, your eye does some amazing things when you put it in the dark.
Right. Yeah, what I did do help, so I can use much dimmer red light than you used to, is to actually magnify as much as I can. Like if I'm using
Yeah.
photometria, I have a page magnifier, and I also have a magnifying glass, so I can just enlarge it so much so I can have the red light as dim as possible. And I actually use, even when I'm taking notes, and I have to put my glasses back on, and I thinking, okay, well, if I'm taking notes and I'm just wearing my glasses and it's dark, I found it was difficult. My handwriting is not the greatest anyway. I'm a dumb lefty when I should have been a righty. But I found that, when I'm taking my notes now, I actually have using the magnifying glass also. So I'm holding the magnifying glass, had the red light over it like that, dim the red light as much as I can, because if I can increase the magnification of what I'm writing, I can see much easier. So I hardly use any red light at all. It's very dim. So, but I'm the same way with you, Josh. And the one thing I will say though, because my one eye is dominant over my other, but I do like to switch back and forth also. So, because I found out years and years and years ago that it really helps in keeping both eyes pretty much, from getting very tired or sleepy. Because because you're really straining to see more and more out of one eye, but if you could switch back to the other eye, it makes it a lot easier going back and forth. So that I will do that. Well, I'll change eyes during the night. I'll use my left eye for this and use my right eye then. So for me, it just helps a lot.
When you observe through an eyepiece, Rob, do you close your opposing eye or leave them both open?
I have a patch.
So you'll leave your eye open under the patch?
Yeah, under the patch.
How about you, Carl?
Yes, both my eyes are open.
And
because if you close your one eye like that, your other eye your eye that you're using also tends to sag a little bit. Also, your eyelid. So you want to have both eyes open. Plus, also it helps fatigue, because remember, when you're closing your eye, you're using muscle.
Right.
Okay.
What's weird to me is I do the same thing, but there's definitely, like, I'm perceiving that my left eye is looking at a black screen. And like sometimes I'll just actually close my non-observing eye under the eye patch, and I feel like that just, I don't know, cleans up the view a little bit. But yeah, if you're just constantly winking all night with one eye, it really fatigues the muscles.
I'll have to test it out. I have been, if I don't bring my observing hood, I've been using what hood I have and wrapping it around the eyepiece. And that, I think, is underrated. I don't see a lot of people doing that. And that really increases your ability to focus on the object, because, my eye is constantly picking up that outside rim of the focuser, and it's so distracting. So, and Josh, the other night I was thinking about you, because I know you would have teased me if you were there, but I have to say, I was looking at this one object and I had it under really, really, really high power. And I said to Karl, I said, I don't know if I could have really have appreciated this object as much as I did standing up as opposed to sitting down right now. I mean, I sat in my chair for like 5 minutes and just with the eye patch on and the hood up and covered under the eyepiece. And I just got totally into the object. And I don't know, I just couldn't have done that, I don't think, standing up. Maybe I could have done it standing up 20 years ago, but not now. You know,
Yeah.
it's all relative to what age you are. But I just started like reappreciating the ability to sit down and concentrate if you wanted to really like get in there and get going. Go ahead, just say whatever you're going
So
to say.
you're bringing a
Just say.
recliner with you next time, or a rocking chair? I couldn't let you down. You knew something had to come up. It's just jealousy, really. No, you know, I get it. You know, I love my scope for the views it gives, but I tell you what, that ladder on a cold, windy night, you know.
Yeah, but you're younger, and I wasn't really trying to make those comparisons. I just figured you would have teased me for doing it, but I just, you know, I think when you get to be my age, that's where you really get to see the advantage, which is why I did it. You know, somebody who's in their 30s or 40s doesn't necessarily have to be sitting down to observe, to appreciate it for 5 minutes. But at my age, you know, you know, standing on your feet and being on a ladder and trying to concentrate is just, it's asking a lot.
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm starting to feel the strain on. I've been in the, I've been in this, am I going on 15 years? I don't know if it's been that long, but yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. It's
Karl, I was talking to Josh the other night about, I was saying, like, you know, we're 20 some years older than he is. And I said, I wonder what he'll be observing with when he's 20 years older. And what did you say, Josh? Like a 42 f.5
or something. Who knows? I'll be in low Earth orbit with a pair of binoculars.
Right.
But he might be doing like digital eyepiece stuff like that and just having a small refractor.
There you go.
Yeah. Cyber guy.
Oh man. So all right. Well, anything else, guys? Or
Yeah.
Guys, dark skies, let's go.
Yep.
Rock and roll.
Yep.
All right. Well,
All right.
that's it for this edition of Astro Observers.
Cool.